Hey everybody, Once Bitten here. So I know that my channel's pretty much dormant now, but I was called out recently by Mr.Malorian to respond to another YouTuber's request for people who have established YouTube wargaming channels to talk about their experience with it. I thought, why not? If you want to hear about my experience with it, I'm happy to tell you. Yeah, this is. it's so funny. There were people making videos before I ever came around, but um, I think I just did it for a long time, and I was one of the earlier ones to do it. So I looked up just today. My very first video I ever posted was April of 2009, and it seems like it was longer ago than that. So if you want to see that, by the way, I started under a channel called 84321605. I don't know how I came up with that number, but I think at the time I just wanted total privacy, with my YouTube uh, gaming presence and personal life. And then after 43 battle reports, I I just realized that's just a horrible name. I think somebody gave me feedback once saying, it's just really hard to remember. It's hard to tell somebody about this channel when it's just a series of 8 numbers. I don't know how I remember it. 84321605. I still remember that damn number. I can't remember my phone number half the time. Anyway, after 43 videos, I created Once Bitten 360 as a channel that seemed to be easier to remember. And have had that one ever since. But of course, I haven't really done much with it for the last few years. So the questions I'm supposed to respond to, the first one is, how did I get into the hobby? I think I did just the way most people did. Many years before I started the channel, a friend of mine introduced me to the game. And he was just a guy that used to play it as a kid, never competitively, but he's also a collector. So he had several armies. And so he pulled out these armies, and we were playing, I don't know what edition we were playing. I remember Bretonians had the wedge formation, whatever that was, 5th edition or whatever. Maybe, I don't know. And, I played with him a handful of times. It was okay. But, there's one guy. We actually went to a game store, and there were other people playing, and I was really impressed. Like, wow, these painted models. I couldn't fathom ever painting a model. And when I tried painting models, it I looked like I was a 5-year-old. I just couldn't do it at all. But to be honest, the people at the game club weren't that friendly. Most of them, they're kind of snooty, which I've always found funny. These snooty gamers. There's a couple guys that were okay, and I played a couple games, but really it just fizzled out. And I was busy. I was young at the time. I think I would have been in my late 20s at that point, and had just started a business and had 2 young kids at the time. I mean, it wasn't a great time to start a hobby like that. And yeah, so then years later, my son, who at that point, I mean, he would have been 10 years old, 11, something like that. He came to me and he was like, "Dad, this game you used to play just looks like a lot of fun." And I was like, "Well, if you'll get into it, I'll certainly get into it. I love doing things with my kids." And so he started a dwarf army. I picked my Bretonian army back up, and then of course, he being a kid lost interest after a few months, and me having this addictive personality that I do, I was hooked. So yeah, that probably would have been 2008 or whatever. So I don't. The second question was, how did I get into actually posting them online? Um, there was a guy making videos that I liked. I didn't watch a ton of YouTube. Somehow I stumbled across a guy, and for the life of me, I can't remember his name, his channel. And it'll come to me, and I'm sure somebody in the community will remember. He was from New Zealand, I think. Um, anyway, he just had a great style, great charismatic personality, and I was just like, like, I don't know if I could be as good as him, but it'd be fun to try. So I started taking pictures of games. And if you go to 84321605 and see my very first battle report, it's awful. My models are, a lot of them are unpainted, and just you can see, you know, the, how things started out, in terms of style, in terms of level of skill in the game, in terms of um, level of skill in doing battle reports. I mean, what blah blah blah. I look at it now and I mean it's horrible. Not good at all. Um, Over time, I I don't know if I got good or not. I got better at the game and I got more comfortable doing the reports. Enough people liked them, so maybe I was good at it. Um, but yeah, I mean, I started doing it just because I was like, why not? And it was a different era back then. I mean, there weren't many battle reporters out there, and it took me forever to build a following because there just people weren't watching them online because nobody was there. Then nobody was going there to search for it. So the good thing I had going for me was I was one of the few games in town, and the bad thing going for me was that therefore there was no real market for it. It took me forever to get to 1,000 subscribers. I don't know how long it took, for years. Um, and I think at my peak I reached 8,000 subscribers, which is big for Warhammer Fantasy, but it's of course tiny for YouTube standards. So that's how I got into the game and how I got into making the channel. Over time, I expanded beyond battle reports. I got comfortable with putting my face on the camera. It was impossible to remain private because people could just look at tournament results and they could easily see who I was and get my name. And then some people were posting online like, I know Once Bitten's name, and I'm like, it's not that big of a deal. So I just I started doing more videos where I was just talking to the camera, philosophizing about the game and about rules and stuff like that. So, and then yeah, so and there's no huge reason why I gave up the channel. I just turned a corner in life and didn't have as much time or interest for the game. I was living during the time of the channel. I was raising kids. I was I was married. I had my own business, and then I sold it, went back to school. I mean, just all these crazy changes in life. And then now I'm like, well, shoot, like my kids are grown and gone. I'm divorced. I'm now, instead of living in the United States, I'm living in Germany for the most part. I live in the United States and in Germany. Matter of fact, that's where you just heard that bell. I live literally 20 meters from a monastery in the inner city of a beautiful, beautiful city in Germany. And now it's funny. I missed the community of the game. I missed when I did what I found so rewarding about having the channel was I've actually developed relationships with people just because they would comment consistently on my channel. And I got to recognize their names, or people reached out to me because they liked my channel and they said, "Hey, I'm going to be at this tournament, or I'm going to be visiting your town. Can we have a game?" I don't know how many people I picked up at the airport or I picked up at their hotel and drove them to a game store and we played a game, or I loaned them an army, and that was just fantastic. I just really, really love that. When the U.S. Masters was at its peak, that was super fun. I felt connected to players all over the country. Yeah, and it was great. And then, of course, GW kind of shot everything down. And then I really like what the Ninth Age is doing. And it's no complaint against anything there when I lost interest. But even now, like I wish I had one of my armies in Germany because I would actually really like to get back into the casual scene of it. I don't know if I'd continue making videos, if I would go to tournaments. Knowing me, I'd get addicted to it. Damn it! But yeah, but it was really fun. Yeah, just the game, strategizing the game. Do I have advice for people wanting to create a channel? I don't know. I don't want to give life advice. Like if it's specific channel advice, like the technical stuff, figure it out. Figure out a style that you like doing. A lot of people made much, much higher quality videos than I did. For me, I needed it to be as efficient as possible. So I used, as soon as I got an iPhone with a decent camera, I always used my phone to take pictures. And I developed a system of taking pictures very quickly so it didn't irritate my opponents too much. Then I had a system where I got home and I shot those pictures into Keynote, which is like PowerPoint, and did a voiceover, and just that was it. And I'd put the pictures in, and I would go through all the pictures and try to remind myself what happened in the game, and then I'd just go and just talk. And I think part of that had an appeal. I think people liked it because they felt the personality come through. You certainly can get too polished on stuff and people don't like. A lot of people complained. They're like, you should do video, or you could you could do put a lot more effort into it and edit it more. You could put in special effects. You could do this, and I'm like, I ain't got time for it. It's not what I signed up for. So I think there's just a balance. I mean, there are people that really enjoy the aesthetic quality of what they do, and maybe they churn out fewer videos than otherwise they could. but what they turn out is really good. I mean, I've seen some really cool battle reports, but then you look at the channel and they did like two because it's so much work, right? So, I mean, my advice to anybody wanting to do a channel is do it because you like doing it. There's no reward. There is no extrinsic reward for doing it. And even the money you make is never, in this hobby, will never be enough to justify your time. I certainly made maybe 10 cents an hour, maybe a penny an hour, for probably less than a penny an hour. Do it because you enjoy it. But there are things to enjoy. Like, I really enjoyed getting to know other YouTubers, right? Vince Venturella, who's just has a fantastic painting channel. Malorian, people who have come and gone, they did it for a couple of years and quit. But we always felt like there was kind of a bond between us because we're like, you know, yeah, you kind of put yourself out there and you get criticized for making dumb decisions in games, and there's always people that know more than you or feel the need to be condescending. And so you have these things you can relate to each other. Like, we'd go out and have a beer and say, "Oh my gosh, what's it like for you?" And it's the same thing. You love all these positive comments on the channel, but of course the one negative comment just eats at you. Um, so I think there are reasons to do a channel for a sense of camaraderie with others. I think in terms of building your channel, it'd be a different route than what I took because there's different things available. But it's certainly get on forums and just participate and post links and talk about others, and just kind of be a good citizen, and it brings people to you. Collaborate with other channels. I mean, if I had to do it now, I would reach out to every YouTuber that was active, that was willing to give me a chance, and I would ask if there's some way that I could, talk to them on their channel, or play a game with them, or do something to so you can kind of cross pollinate viewers. And of course, when you're starting out, you don't have a whole lot to offer. You might have 5 viewers, right, or 200 viewers, but most people I know in the hobby were very happy to help other people out. And when I see people that grew their channel very quickly, it's usually because they got exposure, and then they did it in a way that people liked as well. So, other than that, yeah, I don't know. Do it if you want to do it, but certainly, again, there's no extrinsic reward for it. Anyway, that's it. Nice talking to you again.